wanted to write a book that an entrepreneur or small business owner could read and go, oh, I finally get what Twitter's all about, or I finally get how social media works together and can help me do something within my business.
And now one thing there isn't a lot of in your book is shortcuts and quick fixes. Why not?
You know, in social media, I think there really is no such thing as a shortcut or a quick fix, because it's multiple. You know, we're dealing with multiple websites. It's not like search engine optimization and Google's the 800-pound gorilla, and so what are the shortcuts that I can do to make my website rank well in Google? There's multiple websites with multiple purposes, if you will, and I've got to wind those things together to accomplish a goal for my business. And so we did have rules, you know, social rules. Each chapter ends with several rules, but I don't believe that there really is a quick fix to make social media marketing work. It's much more of a methodology and a process.
Now, and you actually kind of break it out in a way that's understandable with you crawl before you walk, before you run. What kind of time frames are you usually looking at to move through those stages?
I tell most businesses, and I think I say this in the book, is if you're going to start today, in terms of return on investment, if you're counting return on investment as leads and sales for your business, that you shouldn't even consider that for the first 6 months. And we talk about the crawl, walk, run is all about what are those most milestones, if you will. If it's not cash that I can go deposit in my bank, what are those many milestones that I can see during that 6-month period that show that I'm on the right course? And so what's nice, though, about social media marketing is you are building a community that you own forever. And so that first 6 months is all about getting that community established. But it's kind of like priming a pump. Once you get that first customer on the other side of the goal line, they pretty much keep following. It's just creating that community that takes so long.
It's like building a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it difficult for people to maintain the kind of discipline it takes over that amount of time? I mean, they're running businesses. They're, you know, everybody's got a full life, and you've got some very precise goals of the number of tweets you're going to put up and how many followers. What's sort of the success rate of people you take on who stick with it enough to get the results versus those that kind of pass by the wayside?
You know, that's a great question, Len, and I would just recommend that anybody that's thinking about jumping into social media marketing needs to be prepared to learn some new behaviors and to build some good habits, because what you don't want to do is get into the game and then kind of quit halfway along the road. I call those social media ghost towns. You know, you don't want to have that Facebook page that nobody's updated in 6 months, or that blog that nobody's posted anything on in 6 months. And so you need to be prepared to dig in. But at the same time, I encourage most business leaders in the book that you can't do this alone. You've got to find somebody within your organization that's going to help you. And we do talk about strategies on, you know, leveraging subject matter experts within the organization and building a plan. You know, what kills most businesses is deciding to get into social media and not developing a strategy first. And, you know, they come up with this goal, hey, we're going to blog once a week. And, oh my gosh, now it's Friday at 5 o'clock. What are we going to blog about? Well, if you plan and you follow the methods that we outline in the book, that's never going to happen, because we recommend that you figure that stuff out a quarter in advance. So here it is this particular week. You already know what you're going to blog about, and so you already know who to go talk to within the organization to get that information. Just makes life easier. But I don't want to sugarcoat it. You do have to be prepared to get into the game and to expend some of your organization's energy to accomplish this. It's not like running an ad in a newspaper where you just write a big check and something happens in return. You have to prime the pump yourself.
Now, a lot of people that listen to the podcast are readers. I think there's some authors that are dabbling in the ebook space and all. Have you helped anybody, either a publisher or an author, move through these tools to find audiences for their books with social media?
You know, we actually haven't. I think we'll be learning that on our own for the first time here. You know, I
with
think
your book,
with our book. You know, it's baptism by fire. You know, we'll be learning how to utilize this resource that we put together and put it out there in social media. And really, I mean, when we even developed the book, our purpose behind the book wasn't so much to sell 1 million copies as much as it was to practice what we preach. I mean, we talk a lot in the book about leading with value and some of these fundamental truths that are really important for a business. And so, you know, our heart is to educate the business owner, the entrepreneur that's out there on what social media marketing is and how can they get the ball rolling, so to speak. And we know that if we do that, then, you know, we'll get enough potential clients out of that takes care of itself. So really, that's our intention. We've gone all over the country and we've trained businesses in live events across the country. This is just another way of accomplishing the same task, but using an ebook and a real book, to get it out there.
It's quite an investment in time. I mean, you spent a year writing it. It's a hefty book.
71,000 words.
So is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's 300 some pages. Here's a picture of it for the video part of it. And so you're taking the leading with value a lot deeper than just leading with a regular blog post. I mean, to actually put a book out there.
Well, one of the reasons that we went down the book path is that we know that our target audience, the people that we're trying to reach, they get a book. I don't think our target audience yet gets a blog yet. I mean, I know that they're reading blogs, and I know that they're engaging in social media at some level. Maybe they have a LinkedIn profile, but they're not doing social media marketing yet. And so if we created a format that they're used to, that we would probably reach more people. Because there's a certain amount of people that aren't going to read a blog. There's a certain amount of people that aren't going to walk into a ballroom in a hotel where we're going to run a boot camp and teach them on social media. But there's a lot of people that get buying a book at a bookstore, downloading an ebook, and getting their knowledge that way. So it's just a way of expanding, our awareness across a greater number of people.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're using kind of a traditional vehicle to spread the revolution.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because we had, when we do these boot camps, a lot of people, we use traditional advertising as a way to get people to come in, and they're like, if social media is so great, why did you run an ad in the paper? And I look at the people and say, because you're the guy that still reads the paper. I need to reach you. And so
right.
You have to go whatever means accomplishes your goals. You have to use those means.
As I was reading the book, I was thinking of using these tools to expand the community of my podcast, and it really turned into more of a career. It started out more as a hobby, and when I'm thinking about Twitter and Facebook with that hat on, it seems like it's different than how I've been using Twitter and Facebook up to now, which is basically as a consumer, as just someone, a private citizen who's not responsible for a business of any kind. And is that two different ways of engaging with these social media, that if you're simply someone who's leading a private life, you would have a much more restricted Facebook group that you would follow and be followed by, versus trying to really generate numbers that would affect a business?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question, and the reason that I say that is there are different purposes for different things in social media today. For example, my personal Facebook page, or profile, I really do feel like that's where I connect with my friends and my family. And so, if this book takes off and there's a lot of people that are interested in connecting with me because of the book, I'll go and set up a Paul Slack page, which is different than a Paul Slack profile on Facebook, because that's a different purpose. There's a different, so I can go and still be me, but not necessarily, like I just posted some pictures of my son's we did some graduation photos for him. He's graduating from high school, and I don't think I want to necessarily share that with the whole world. And so you have different types of social media that you're going to use for different purposes. But here's the other part of that I want to make sure that we communicate. For businesses, transparency is really key. And so I don't want you to think that, okay, Paul just said I can have silos. I can have my business silo and my personal silo. I think when we talk about, tweeting and blogging and even posting on Facebook, we've got to be transparent. It goes back to one of the fundamental truths in the book. People do business with people. It's not B2C anymore. It's not B2B. It's P2P, people to people. And so a human being, your potential customer, has got to have that sense of a personal connection with you. And the way that you do that is you have to be okay with letting your hair down a little bit.
And so you would do that even on your page that you set up as Paul Slack author.
I would. And for example, on Twitter, here at Splash, we have multiple Twitter accounts. One of those is my personal Twitter account. Now, I manage that personally, and I tweet. All the tweets that come out on that account are from me personally. And I tweet business-related things. I tweet things that are on the top of my mind. And that is an area where, I have lots of followers that are way beyond family and friends. And I'm going to be transparent. If I have a thought there that I think would benefit or be useful to the people that are following me, I'm going to share it, whether it's a social media thought or whether it's just a personal thought. I don't personally feel like people care where I had lunch, and so I'm not going to be tweeting about those things, but I am, because I'm very sensitive, and I think we all have to be sensitive about this medium called social media. It's not about us. It's about benefiting the people that are following us. And so if you've got something useful to say it, and use social media to do that.
Turning into the area of books and publishing, one thing that I think I'm concerned at the thought that the traditional publishers go away. Some ebook radicals say, "Oh, great! When the traditional publishers go away, that means the revolution is complete, and it's nothing but good. It opens up possibility for authors to find more audiences and things like that." But traditional publishers have sort of kind of a curating role of finding the good stuff and developing the good writers. And if that goes away, one of the critiques that I hear that I think has some validity is, how are we going to wade through the hundreds of thousands of books that get published each year? And it seems to me that maybe social media, from the point of view of a reader, becomes a way to filter books that I might be able to read, to find books that I'd want to read. And can you give a little guidance to readers, knowing what you know about social media, and how we might be able to go forward and finding good things to read?
That's a really interesting point, Lynn, because I do believe that social media plays an interesting role in just media consumption in general. And I would say that ebooks and books would fall into that. What's made social media a revolution, the first chapter of the book, in my book, is social media is a revolution, and is that we've all become these micro publishers. Social media has made it so easy for us to connect with one another, but on top of that, it's made it super easy for us to share our thoughts and opinions about things. And so what's happened is, in the old days, 5 years ago, you would do a search on Google to find something relevant, but you had no context. It was what Google told you was relevant. And so today, it's not that. It's what Lynn tells me is relevant. If Lynn and I are connected, and I know that you're an authority on ebooks, and so if you source something, I'm going to trust that more than a Google search. What I would trust a Google search. And so I do think that social media is going to help us vet those things out, because consumers do trust what another human being's going to say. And if that human being, somebody that they know is an authority, or just somebody that they know and they trust, then they're going to believe what that person has to say. Well,
let's finish up. When you think of the big picture, you can feel the transition from traditional advertising to social media that you lay out early in the book. Can you roll ahead decades to a point where social media is the tired platform, and there's some new turn of the wheel that enables businesses to reach out to customers? And do you have any sense of what it might be?
That's if I were to get into a time machine and try to predict the future, the one thing that I know seems to hold true, are that technology is going to continue to lend a hand in things. That the fundamental truths will never go away. That people do love to connect with one another. They do love to associate with one another. They love to share their thoughts and opinions. That we hate to be sold, but we love to buy things. And so whatever's going to happen in the future is going to facilitate that and make it easier and easier. I don't know what that's going to look like. If I'd gone back 10 years ago and somebody explained to me Facebook, I would have thought, there's no way I'm ever going to put all my personal data out there like Facebook. But when the good outweighs the fear, if you will, all of a sudden people do that. So I can just tell you, 20 years from now, we're going to be all connected in some way that makes our iPhones and our Kindles seem so old and archaic, but we'll still be doing the fundamental truths. We'll still be connecting with one another. We'll still be sharing our thoughts and opinions and cool stuff that we find out there.
And this will be up on the internet somewhere, so we can come back and see that prediction came true.